Hello, my name is Jason Ziemianski. I am 44 years old. I'm almost divorced. I still live with my almost ex-wife. I have 2 kids. I'm unemployed, and I'm the guy that's going to be giving you advice today. Not the typical profile for somebody whose ideas are worth spreading, but it's precisely these stats that brought me to this stage today. Ironically, it was my divorce that led me to what I believe is a better model for being married. So many times in our lives when kids come on the scene, things shift for the worst or even collapse, but that's not because of some inherent problem with being married or having kids. I believe it's a symptom of a larger behavioral pattern tied to how we manage our time during this critical stage of our lives. Now, I'm not here to say time management is something that can cure all of the complex emotions and challenges that can face a relationship or a marriage, but time plays a very important role in our relationships and in how we navigate our lives. When we lose touch with time, we can lose touch with ourselves. So I'm here today to challenge anyone who's married with kids or going to go down that path one day to really think about your time and the role that it plays in your self-image. This was my family not too long ago. Carrie and I are good friends. I mean, we still live together, so we kind of have to be, and we're awesome co-parents, but our lives are separating, and now we find ourselves in the single life. 2 things happen to our time. First, we're all of a sudden given this crazy thing called free time. Anyone married with kids can understand the fantasy that is free time. Suddenly, we can go see a movie, read a book, sleep in, go on vacation, write a TED Talk. And as we gain time in one area of our lives, that means we're losing time in another. And in this case, it's some of the most valuable time there is, time with our kids. So as our relationship with time shifts, this new sense of awareness, a new level of gratitude enter our lives. And this happens in a different way in each of these scenarios. In the first scenario, we're grateful for the time that we have to pursue whatever it is we want. Personal development, self-actualization, 2 things that have guided all of our lives. And the other scenario, it's a classic case of we don't know what we got till it's gone. Our time with our kids has been taken away, and we're grateful for whatever precious time we do have. And this idea of gratitude and time and their relationship, that's really what I'm here to talk about today, because it was only in the break of my marriage that I was forced to look at how I managed my time. And as I spoke to other single parents about their time, a theme arose. Almost all of them said that they are better parents in their divorce than they ever were in their marriages. And this was like a crazy idea for me. So I surveyed 500 single parents, and 78% of them said that they too are better parents, that their gratitude for their time with their kids led them to being more present, more engaged. They were making more plans. They're better listeners. They're teaching more. So why is that? Why is it that with all of the resources of a traditional marriage system, we actually do more, we do better with less? And more importantly, if a shift in time can create a new perspective that brings gratitude into our relationships with our children, doesn't it stand to reason that the same model could be applied to our relationships with our spouses? But what I can say unequivocally is that reacting to time, living in a reactive mode, will work for no one. And that's where we see a lot of families these days. It's not uncommon to see entire families totally disengaged from each other, going through the motions, faces buried in screens. Time almost seems like something to kill, not to use. And we lose touch with each other. And despite our alarming divorce rates, this is just the way it is. We're almost taught from a young age that we should expect to be miserable when we have young kids, that there's no room for a sense of self. It's not about us anymore. And there's some truth to that. But taking time to care for ourselves doesn't mean that we're abandoning others. And in fact, it's when we lose that time to care for ourselves many times that the relationships are compromised. And we've proven this in every stage of our lives leading up to this point, in what we've needed to do to make us happy, to navigate our lives, the personal development and structure that have guided us through to build successful relationships, personal, build a social network, a professional network, achieve our goals. Our lives have generally been guided by some type of structure. It's only when we get married with kids that we move into this reactive mode and we take decades of behaviors that have served us so well and we literally throw them out the window at the time when arguably they're the most important, when a sense of self is the most important to keep everything together. So, what went wrong? And why do we accept it? Generation after generation, divorce after divorce. Well, it doesn't take a genius to see the trend in everything I've spoken about. Our happiness has always been directly linked to our personal development, whatever that means for each of us. And when we lose touch with that, that's when we fall prey to the cliches of all those that preceded us. So we have to take care of ourselves if we want to take care of other people. And there's nothing preventing us from doing that but ourselves. Because we all know when there's something we want to do, suddenly the seas part. There's a direct line from us to the concert, from us to the game, from us to the vacation. Time magically appears. So how does this idea of living like we're divorced play into all of this? Let's start out with the most common structure of time in a divorce, 50-50. We've lost time over here, we've gained time over here, suddenly we're not with our kids half the time, and what happens? Do they starve to death? Are they running into traffic like crazy people? Are they sitting at home playing with weapons? No, because one person, one very capable person, our spouse, is handling it. And we didn't have to find more time in the day, we didn't have to bring in round-the-clock childcare, we didn't have to make more money. If anything, we have less. The only thing that changed is our relationship status. But that forced us to prioritize our time in a new way. We're forced to have an ongoing conversation about our time and how we use it because suddenly we look at time as something that impacts both of us individually and collectively. But it shouldn't have been any different inside a marriage. I mean, marriages are supposed to be partnerships, but ironically, we only call it 50-50 when the marriage is over. So, why does this conversation not happen? Why can't we incorporate a concept like 50-50 into our marriages, or some version of it? Why do we feel like everyone has to be connected all the time, even when it's not necessary? And when we get away, there's like this insecurity or guilt that we're somehow not like leaving somebody behind, and we can't even enjoy it. When I see entire families sitting around doing nothing, I see a missed opportunity for one of them to do something, literally anything else. But we can't do that without predictability and managing our time. Because, man, we are sensitive people. And we hate feeling like we're somehow getting the short end of the stick, like we're somehow pulling more weight than somebody else. And that's when we move into that reactive mode and assumptions start being made, and judgment and resentment, these awesome things, enter our lives. So, how do we do this? How can we manage it together? How can we become partners in time? What can we do to navigate this world together? What can we do to prevent ourselves from doing ridiculous things with our time? Things that I used to do, like creating more work to find free time. Like, how stupid is that? Or being disingenuous or lying about where we are just to get away. But here's the thing, none of that's free time, and none of it's getting away because it's not rooted in the communication and the respect that make us partners in time. That time is only valuable when we're doing something that we want to do, something that gives us satisfaction and gives the same to our partner because they know that they're supporting us in that effort, that we're together, that we're partners. That time is only valuable when we know we're going to give and receive the same thing because we're partners in time. That time is only valuable when we come home and we share our gratitude from a place that actually uplifts our partner. We're not apologizing for being gone, we're celebrating it. And here's the crux of this idea. I believe that our relationships will be fortified, that much stronger to weather a storm, if one of us is always coming from a place of gratitude. If one of us can always uplift our partner. Gone are the days where we both lean on the crutch of cliches that we're too tired, we're overwhelmed, we're overworked, we're too broke. Now, those things don't go away, but they're no longer all-consuming parts of our lives. They're no longer excuses that we can both use. One of us will always be in a position to tip the scales in our favor, to lift our partner from whatever it is that's bogging them down, to develop a new way of communicating that is generated from being partners in time, from taking care of ourselves together. So it's all great, this idea, but what does it look like in practice? And this is actually the simplest part of this concept. If we're a married couple and we want to live like we're divorced, what do we need to do? Well, we need to sit down and do what divorced couples do. We need to create a schedule that works for both of us, that gives us plenty of time with our kids, plenty of time with each other, and alternates in some capacity. Crazy idea. So for our example, we'll say one of us gets 1 day a week and the other one gets 2, and this alternates every other week. This simple exercise has profound effects on our relationship with time. And once it becomes ingrained into our schedules and it becomes a predictable part of our time and our expectations, we know when we're giving more and we're getting more. It's profound. Think about a 3-day weekend, right? Every once in a while, this one magical day is dropped in our laps and it shifts the whole week. Suddenly we have time to decompress from the week before and time to prepare for the week ahead. We're able to find a new place, a new center, to take a breath in a way that we no longer feel like we're being kicked around by time. We actually feel like we have some control over it. We found a center. And this idea of living like we're divorced is no different. And even in an example like this, where we've carved out 3 days of the week, there's still more than half the week left over to do whatever it is we need to do as a family or a couple. There's literally plenty of time to do all of this without anyone missing out on anything. And as we do this, we agree that there's no judgment. It's our time and we can use it however we want. If we want to go out with friends, if we want to go out to dinner by ourselves, lock ourselves in the room, work on our artisanal piñata business that we're sure is going to work, it doesn't matter. We can even hang out together. The point is, we're no longer tethered to the activities that we don't need to be there for all the time. Things that single parents have been handling quite successfully for many years, like getting the kids ready for school in the morning, dropping them off in the afternoon, doing bedtime, cooking dinner, bath time. We no longer have to lift a finger in these things. That doesn't mean that we're checked out. It's not like we're going to walk by one of our kids on the floor and they're writhing in pain and screaming, and we're like, sorry, bro, not my day. But when the day is over, one of us is always going to be refreshed. We're going to be able to approach our partner with a new type of energy. If we had been with them all day, they may be tired, but that wouldn't be any different. Had we been by their side, we'd probably just be in the same position, and then we can just both use the same excuse. But now, one of us is able to uplift the other. Now that we're partners in time, maybe we have a conversation about what it is we're doing with that time, because we're actually united in our individuality, in these pursuits. And we want to learn about that, and maybe that brings us closer together. Maybe we're so refreshed that we're feeling frisky, but now we're actually willing to put in the effort that it might take to get our partner to that same place. Or maybe we just find a new way of being present together. This connection allows us to be present in a way that feels connected. The point is that it only takes a little bit of time and a little bit of distance for the heart to grow fonder. And the gratitude that comes from having that space creates new opportunities for closeness. And that's an important concept, that space creates closeness. But that's only done if it's in partnership. If it's not, space creates distance and it's corrosive. So not only do we have this structure on how to manage our time and expectations and find a new place in it, But this also gives rise to a really important question, which is, what will we do with our time? And although there's no judgment, the choices that we make are very revealing about where we are in our lives, in our relationships, psychologically and emotionally. Do we feel like we need to flee, get out of Dodge? And if so, what is it about our home lives, our relationships, that makes us feel like we always need to escape? Or are our identities so tied up in our home lives that we can't even give ourselves a day off? And that's the great thing about this simple model, is now we have this way to organize our time and a way to talk about it. Now, I can't say that these conversations are always going to be warm and fuzzy and productive. I mean, after all, we have to keep our therapists employed. But they do provide a format for these conversations to happen naturally, in a way that will incrementally reveal more and more about what's going on under the surface in our relationships. So, this whole idea is essentially time management, right? That's not a new idea. But no idea that we're going to hear from some relationship guru in a book or in a talk is really ever that mind-blowingly new. Many times they're intuitive. Typically, what blows our mind is hearing an existing idea in a new way, being ready to receive an idea at that point in our lives where we experience it as an emotional truth versus an intellectual insight, as I did in my divorce. Because that's when we stop understanding and we start feeling. We stop knowing and we start doing, because change is an emotional pursuit. We see it around us all the time. Facts don't change people's minds, feelings do. But feelings are squirrely things, and they need some type of structure so they don't run awry. So I hope that this model, this structure that I'm challenging you all with, allows you to understand and to feel that your personal development, your happiness, are worth your time at every stage in your lives. And it's worth the time of those you love and those who love you. And on that note, I recognize your time is valuable. Thank you for giving some of it to me today. I hope that you feel it was time well spent. Thank you.